and none of the kingdoms can brag about keeping the law and the name of the Most High and the language perfect. That's why I said, read it again.
Right, it says, for then will I turn to the people a pure language.
When is it then that the Lord is going to turn the people into a pure language? Now, during the time of when the Lord is going to close up the breaches between the tribe or the nation.
And that's according to the prophecy.
Right.
That's right.
That they may all call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent.
That they may call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with what? One consent. Meaning what? They're all going to come to the acknowledgement that there's one name only. Get Zechariah 14:9. There's only one name to be called upon. Yep. That's Yahweh. But then in these times, it's known that the Most High set up a Savior, Yahweh Shai, which we go have a mediator to call to the Most High through his name. Why? Because he gave himself a sacrifice. But the name of the Most High is going to be one. So it's not going to be Yohewah or Yeshua. You had different tribes that had the name of the Lord mixed up. But now it's Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai.
Right. Zechariah 14:9. And the Lord shall be king over all the earth in that day. And in that day, it says, in that day shall there be one Lord and his name one.
There shall be one Lord and his name one. Let's talk about right now. During the time when the Lord is closing up the breaches thereof.
Yep.
You know? We got a lot of more information. I mean, if y'all brothers want some more stuff
out on that.
to bring out.
Yep.
I mean, we didn't even get to that information. But no, Lord's will, in the next lesson, we're going to go into the how these so-called Native American Indian tribes were brought into Europe by form of slavery.
Let me just finish out with this. Now I'm going to finish this account here in the 12 Tribes of Israel by Timothy Jenkins. The 10 Tribes of Israel, excuse me, by Timothy Jenkins. Page 81. It says, the Indian informed him that one of their most ancient traditions was that a great while ago they had a common father who lived towards the rising of the sun and governed the whole world, that all the white people's heads were under his feet, that he had 12 sons by whom he administered his government. Those are talking about the 12 patriarchs of Israel. It says
we all share one common enemy, Esau,
the fucking white man. I'm gonna read it again. That a great while ago they had a common father who lived towards the rising of the sun, the east,
which is Jacob.
Yep. Right. And governed the whole world. That all the white people's heads were under his feet,
which is Esau.
That he had 12 sons by whom he administered his government.
How the fuck did they come up with that? They just made that up, right?
Yeah, they must have made this up.
They made it up. They just made it up.
It says Indian traditions on the heading of the page.
No, they just made that up.
Right. Well, there's more.
Jackasses.
There's more.
Right.
It says that all the white people's heads were under his feet. That they had 12 sons by whom he administered his government.
12 sons.
That his authority was derived from the Great Spirit. That's from Yahweh. It says by virtue of some special gift from him, the promise. Right. It says that the 12 sons behaved very bad and tyrannized over the people, abusing their power to a great degree.
Hey,
the 12 tribes.
Hey, brother, I gotta read this.
Go ahead. Hey, but I gotta jump back in. Go ahead, bring it out.
He said he had the white people under the white man under his feet. Yeah. This is Romans chapter 16.
That what it says.
Verse 20. It says, in the power of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet.
They're talking about you so-called white people.
They're talking about you so-called white people.
Take that, Banana Rama.
No, read that again. Read that again.
It says,
Banana Rama.
It says, in the power of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet shortly.
Hey, we just read it.
So we coming close to that vision.
We did, we're right around the corner.
Yep.
Praise of our Lord, Yahweh shall be with you all month.
And these Israelites among the so-called Indians had that tradition among themselves.
Exactly.
Before the so-called white man came over to the so-called Americas.
Yeah.
And this account was written down in the year 1764, 1765.
And that was a account that went before the Spaniards came here in the late 1400s.
And before them crackers from Europe came over here to the Americas too. Let me see. It says I'm gonna read it again. That a great while ago they had a common father who lived towards the rising of the sun and governed the whole world. That all the white people's heads were under his feet. That he had 12 sons by whom he administered his government. That his authority was derived from the Great Spirit, as Yahweh, by virtue of some special gift, for from him the promise was given to him. That the 12 sons behaved very bad and tyrannized over the people, abusing their power to a great degree, so as to offend the Great Spirit exceedingly. That he, being thus angry with them, suffered the white people to introduce spirituous liquors among them, made them drunk, stole the special gift of the Great Spirit from them, and by this means usurped the power over them. That's talking about the
Get
Gadites.
that Deuteronomy
Yeah,
32, 20.
The reservations
Gave
took
them alcohol and drugs.
alcohol,
Right.
drugs, set them on reservations,
Yeah.
would sign treaties with them. It's talking about the North American Indians, sign treaties with them,
Yeah.
then would disannul the treaty because they wanted the land after the Gadites would make the land fertile and grow corn or whatever on the land. Then they said, well, look, we got to remove you out of here.
Yep.
Right?
Hold on, before you read on.
Go right ahead. Right ahead, brother.
27.
Okay.
No, start at 26.
Start at 26. It says, Deuteronomy 32 and 26. I said I would scatter them into corners.
That's talking about the tribes of Israel. The Lord's going to scatter them into corners, into what? Ghettos. What are reservation camps? Ghettos.
Fucking ghettos.
What's the barrio? Ghettos.
Ghetto.
Go ahead.
I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
That's why today nobody remembers that the so-called Latin,
Right.
Native American Indian tribes are
Yeah,
Israelites.
give them respect.
Right.
They don't give them no respect.
Change their name.
Right.
Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy,
Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, God.
lest the adversaries should behave themselves strangely.
Now, how did the adversary behave himself strangely? The so-called white man started acting like he was us.
Exactly.
That's why the elder just read what he read. Read that again.
Right, it says, were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest the adversaries should behave themselves strangely,
Okay.
lest they should say, our hand is high, and the Lord hath not done all this.
That's why I said that they say about what? Manifest destiny.
Exactly.
They say that their hand is high and the Lord hath not done all this because they believe the Most High is with them.
That's a motherfucking lie.
That's a goddamn lie. Go ahead, read that again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now it says, read it again from the top.
No, read the
Oh,
point.
from where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah.
It says that the 12 sons behaved very bad and tyrannized over the people, abusing their power to a great degree, so as to offend the Great Spirit exceedingly, that he, being thus angry with them, suffered the white people to introduce spirituous liquors among them. That's why they call liquor spirits, or liquor stores are named House of Spirits.
Yep.
It says spirituous liquors among them, made them drunk, stole the special gift of the Great Spirit from them. Talking about the word, because then they took the scrolls, took the scriptures, and they basically let the scriptures say his turning of things upside down
Right.
shall be esteemed as the potter's clay, because everything is being turned right side up now, the way that
Right.
the white man don't want it to be.
Right, because what they did, damn, it's this other documentary, but they got a bunch of them. They show you how basically they started teaching the Gadite children.
They set up the Indian schools,
the
and all
Indian
that shit.
schools, which basically was brainwashing them,
Exactly.
and they got punished if they spoke the Hebrew or the Indian dialect,
Which was the Hebrew. It says, let me see. It says that he, being thus angry with them, suffered the white people to introduce spirituous liquors among them, made them drunk, stole the special gift of the Great Spirit from them, and by this means usurped the power over them.
That's why they say that they behave themselves strangely.
Yep.
Because they acting like us and we acting like them.
It says, and ever since the Indian heads were under the white people's feet, but that they also had a tradition.
And then it says that they what? Read that part again.
It says, but that they also had a tradition that the time would come when the Indians would regain the gift of the Great Spirit from the white people, and with it, their ancient power, when the white people's heads would again be under the Indians' feet.
That's why I said that Gad shall be overcome by
A truth shall,
but afterwards what?
He shall overcome in the end.
In the end.
That's what that's talking about.
Right. And then it said that they will have the heads of the so-called white men back in subjection.
Exactly.
You know, as to one point we're under subjection to them now, there's gonna come a point where we're gonna have them in subjection.
In subjection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna finish this up because we gotta. It's barely got any light out here. So finish that point up, brother, and we're gonna close it out. And then Lord's we're gonna come again because he said that we were under subjection under them in this account, and that leads it right into the account that we had, how that the Native American Indians and the Taino and Boricua Indians and them were being sent to Europe as slaves on cargo slave ships. All right.
So that's pretty much the end of that right there.
So with that, we're gonna close it, and Lord's will we're gonna come back with you with another round. Shalom.
Shalom.
Death to the 2/3, and death to you clowns out there.
Fuck you, Bananarama.
Yeah, Bananarama hoe. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
Barakatah Yahweh Shai.
Welcome to another episode, of GMS Info channel. Satan has been hindering us from doing more lessons, and but through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, we're able to do a lesson today. So, we don't want to sound redundant, but right now the time we're living in is a time where all the tribes are coming back together. Pursuant to Amos, the 9th chapter. Matter of fact, we could read that. The Amos, the 9th chapter, where the Lord is bringing all the tribes back together. And that's prophesied that this is going to happen in the last days. So, we're continuing on, the historical proofs of the 10 lost tribes of the nation of Israel. They're proving that they're the so-called indigenous people of the so-called Americas. All the way from Canada, all the way down to South America, and everything in between. All right, so let's read that.
Right, it's the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David.
What days? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep, that is fallen.
That is fallen. What days? It's talking about these days now. The tabernacle of David that is fallen is what? All 12 tribes together, because King David had rule over all of them. It wasn't until the time after King Solomon, through his son Rehoboam, that the tribes actually split apart. That's when the tribes split. So the Lord said what? Read it again.
In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen.
So now how is the Lord raising up the tabernacle of David that is fallen? By his word. By sifting the Israelites through this word, We're going out. The Lord has a spirit on us. We're out here teaching, the elect of the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes, who they are, and the Lord is gathering them by this word. That's what the scriptures say in the book of Zephaniah. Gather yourself together, O nation not desired. So the nation not desired is starting from the so-called Negroes, the West Indians, the Haitians, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Seminole Indians, Native American Indians, all the way from Brazil, all the way to Colombia, Venezuela, and all that area. From El Salvador, Guatemala, Panama, Argentina, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay, and all those other lands in that area. So the Lord is gathering you together now by the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Those of you that are of Negroid and Indian descent, whose lineage and line and forefathers go back to the original people that were either here in the Americas or that were brought to the Americas by way of cargo slave ships. And now that's a key topic in the lesson that we're doing today, because the lesson that we're doing today is how the natives of this land, I don't want to go into every single tribe, but the natives in this land were brought to Europe in slavery by way of cargo slave ships, which is only a curse that was going to be brought upon the nation of Israel. So go ahead, brother.
You got something real quick. A couple of verses. Isaiah chapter 11, and I'm going to start at 10.
Beautiful.
It says, and in that day there should be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people.
Right, that root of Jesse is Yahweh Shai, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, meaning for a sign that the Most High was going to bring Israel back. Go ahead.
To it shall the Gentiles seek.
To it shall the Gentiles seek, which is who? The foreigners. What type of foreigners? The Israelite foreigners. They were going to seek to it because prior to that they had no hope. And without the Most High in the world. Go ahead.
And his rest shall be glorious.
And his rest shall be glorious. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time.
So now the Lord has set his hand again the second time. Why? Because back in the days when Yahushua came on the scene, you know, and prior to that, there were times when the Most High would put Israel in slavery and then bring them back out of slavery. But then there was a point in time where Israel was just left in that condition from then till now. So this is the second time when the Lord is coming back to recover the remnant of his people. Go ahead.
Done. It says, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea.
Now, when you read this scripture, it's talking about actual Israelites that are actually scattered in those areas. But it's also talking about Israelites of those captivities that were even further scattered abroad. Because that was the first time they was put into slavery. But remember, there was a point in time where we left the land of Assyria and came to this side of the world.
Yep.
So you still had remnants of those people that came here that were in the captivity of Syria, that were in the captivity of Assyria, that were in the captivity of Babylon, that were in the captivity of Egypt, that were in the captivity of the Greeks and the Medo-Persian Empire, the Romans, and all the way up to so-called modern-day America. Go ahead.
Come. It says, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel.
Right, so the outcasts of Israel are being assembled now. You know, and that you see that's evident. When you go to the ghettos, who's in the ghettos? The so-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Dominicans, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Native American Indians, Seminole Indians, you know, Argentinians, you know, Brazilians, Mexicans. It ain't a coincidence that all these people are in the ghettos.
In the same area. Yeah, come. And when you watch different shows or videos with other camps, you see all these other brothers. You see Ephraimites and Judites and
Manassites.
Reubenites, Manassites, Issacharites. You even got Issachar in some of the camps.
That's right.
Brothers rolling strong. Simeon, Levi, Gad, Reuben, you know, Judah, Benjamin, Levi.
Man.
So you see them all coming together in these videos, man.
That's right.
And trust, rest assured that the elites, they see these things, man. And never before has that been done. Not with none of them other so-called religions, those other so-called black movements. The Nation of Islam never incorporated the, even though they might recently, because you know we've been out there, so they'll speak about the Latino brothers, so to speak.
Right.
But they don't never break it down to where Ephraim or the so-called Puerto Ricans, and they don't break that down. That's not in. It's all
what tribes they from.
What tribes they from? That's all a black thing, man.
Right.
That's a so-called black nigger movement, man. Just like the Panthers. That ain't the truth, man. This is the truth right here, and you're seeing it being put together before your eyes.
Right, and it's coming true before your eyes because you see all these different camps out there, man, and the brothers are growing beautifully.
Beautiful, man.
You know, I mean, you got the brother Gadiah one, which is Hebrew for Gideon, out there in the San Francisco camp. You know, he's a Gadite. Yeah. You know, and you got all them other brothers there in that camp. You know. I mean, we don't remember every single brother's name.
Brother from Alaska.
You know, got the brother in Alaska. You know, you got the brother Yawanathan, which is of the tribe of Issachar. Down in Texas.
A lot of brothers.
And you got brothers all over the place from all different tribes, man, coming together. You know, and the reason why we are focusing more on them brothers is because that there's of the so-called Latin or Native American Indian tribes. Yeah. You know, and it's just to show you that them brothers are coming together through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Yep. You know, and there's other brothers out there that's of the so-called Latin tribes and of the so-called quote-unquote Negro tribes, and everybody's coming together as one.
Brother that's doing the Spanish shows.
Yeah, the brother from I believe I forget his name, but I believe he's over there in California. If I'm not mistaken, if I am, please forgive me, brother. You know, I don't know every brother out there, but you got a brother that's out there doing Spanish shows now. You know, and it's beautiful, man. I mean, he's doing it by himself, but eventually the Lord's gonna send that brother some more men, you know, to be able to have them help him out, because it's hard doing this thing by yourself, man. You know, but the Lord got a spirit on that man, and he's out there teaching. Right?
Right, it says, shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah
Right. Go ahead.
from the four corners of the earth.
So the Lord's going to gather the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Why? Because Judah is the head tribe. And they have to be delivered first. That's why when this whole thing was brought out, who were the first ones to flock to this?
Yep.
Judah. Benjamin, Levi.
Yep.
But then even back then, you had a wicked Cuban, Manassite dude that that flocked to it. Why? Because he was an Israelite, but he was a wicked Israelite. No, this going back during the time of the 80s, either the late 80s or the early 90s. You know, and then he was out of there. Why? Because he was wicked. But you had other tribes that were of the outside of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that were being gathered.
Back then, yep.
You had Gadites that were being drawn back then and all that, man. So this that time. That
That's
wasn't
right.
on that?
One more verse.
Go ahead.
It says, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart.
Right, because Ephraim envies Judah. Why? Because Judah's the head tribe. Going all the way back to the time of Jeroboam, when he had that animosity towards Rehoboam, and he made those calves for the rest of Israel to worship, so that they wouldn't be drawn to go back to Rehoboam. Why? Because they knew that Rehoboam, who was the king of Judah at the time, that was the kingdom, that was the pretty much the whole stronghold of Israel. You know, through them Judite kings that the Lord set up. So Ephraim has that envy to that, and there's other things, other examples that you can incorporate into that. We know, but the main thing was that Judah was a head tribe, and Ephraim, which was a head tribe, but not the head tribe. You know, and then that was taken away from them because the Most High wanted to make room for Judah. Okay?
Yeah.
And I mean,
That's
that's another lesson in itself.
Yeah. It says, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim.
Right, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Why? Because all the tribes are going to come together in unity without those divisions. Read that again.
Yep. It's now back in Amos 9 and 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old.
And right now we're doing the building. That's what the word edify means to build. Right now we're taking all the fundamental blocks through the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and building up the tribes through the spirit of the Lord. And all those men that are made up of those different tribes, they're all coming together now to build up the tabernacles of David that is fallen. You might think you're from the tribe of Ephraim, and you might be from the tribe of Levi. You might think you're from the tribe of Issachar, and you might be from the tribe of Judah. You might think you're from the tribe of Judah, and you might be from the tribe of Issachar, you know, and vice versa. Yep. So all those tribes are coming back together as one, and the Lord is building the house of David once again, which the term for house of David is Bayath Dawadah, or Bayath Dawayad, which is the house of David. You know? Go ahead, brother. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it on that.
Now, so we're going to get into this article called Native American Net Roots, because these particular events and these particular issues are not addressed out there. How the Native Americans of this land, and when I say Native Americans, I'm talking about the so-called Indian tribes, the so-called Latino tribes, which pretty much they're all Indian tribes. How that they went into slavery by way of cargo slave ships, but these things are never addressed. These things are never spoken of. These things, some of these things were not really even documented. It was just just a few minute points that have been recorded down, that we have records of. And if you brothers out there that have information on the history of how these Native American Indians went into slavery, you know, numbers or whatever, if you have that information, if you want to post it on the comment board, please do so, because you know that's more information and more fuel for the fire. And on the other hand, you can do lessons for yourself on it.
Okay.
You know, to further bring out more information on it, because there's so much information out there that Esau suppresses, but the Lord slowly but surely reveals it to us. You know, so you brothers out there that have the privilege of the Spirit of the Lord to reveal these things to you, why not bring it out? Why hold it in? You know, and you see Satan is kicking up because he's getting mad. But that's all right, you know, because Satan can't stop this thing. So read on, brother.
Right. It's American Indians as slaves. from Native American netroots.
We could just stop right there. We don't even got to read no more.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. It says, when the subject of slavery in the Americas is discussed, many people assume that this is about the 13 million Africans who were captured, which they going off on that. That's bullshit.
Right.
The number was far greater than 13 million.
That's right.
And it was so-called Africans because they weren't Africans.
That's
the so-called Negroes were actually the Jews.
That's right.
Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But primarily Judah.
Yep.
Right? It says that it is assumed that it is about the 13 million Africans who were captured, enslaved, and transported to the Americas to work on the plantations. Yet the history of slavery in the Americas start long before this.
And they're right about that. Okay.
From the very beginning of the European discovery